Welcome back to The Big Picture. My guest is John Hurley, the president of Canisius College, and we're talking about what higher education is going through with this current crisis, how it's being affected, and maybe a little bit about what the future holds. John, this has got an economic impact. It's got a cultural impact on the education system. You are the head of a college that is not just an educational institution, it's a religious institution. So you have to wear two hats. You're a business guy and you're a religious leader. How do you balance that? And in this particular situation, where the campus is now kind of abandoned, for lack of a better way to put it, how does that kind of impact the whole cultural situation at Canisius?
Well, we're encountering the same thing that I think the Catholic Church is encountering, where you're not able to have live services, so people are not in the pews, and the question is, where are people getting their spiritual nourishment? So our campus ministry office is continuing to work with students virtually. They're connecting with them in a variety of online ways. We're going to have a couple of virtual retreats for students, so that students can continue to pray and to think about their religious identity. But yeah, it's problematic because so much of that happens, as with the education, so much of that happens face to face too. But we're going to do our best in this time, and there's I mentioned earlier, there's a sense of loss about the whole thing, and we're worried about students getting down about and being hopeless about this situation, and that's where I think our Catholic identity can shine through. It's as we like to say, it's precisely because we're Catholic that we can respond in a situation and offer hope to the world. But I'm actually kind of heartened. I've made it a personal goal here to try and respond to every student who reaches out to me. And so suddenly students are getting emails back from the president. Now there's some when they want to ask me specific questions about financial things and that, I have to have others respond. But when people ask me a question about this whole situation or what they should do, I'm trying to respond directly to them. A class in our communication studies area reached out and said, it was a little tongue in cheek, but they said, we're kind of stressed out by this online learning, and we think if we all had some comfort dogs given to us by the college, we'd be all set. So I said, oh, sure. So I wrote to every member of the class, and I gave each one of them a virtual dog. I went on the internet, got a picture of a virtual dog, and I picked it out. And we've been having fun because people have reported back. They've named the dogs. They're taking the dogs out for walks, and we're having a good laugh about it. But it's a way of me connecting with a class that I would not have otherwise done, and so we're trying new things like that.
Now that maybe the next thing will be a pet rock or something. That's good.
Yeah, something like that.
Very good. Now I lost my train of thought because I'm just envisioning what my dog would look like. Okay.
Well, I gave, there's a young woman who plays on a great volleyball player for her, and so I sent her a Doberman Pinscher because she's a very tall woman, and I thought, yeah, she'll like this Doberman. Well, she told me that it was a problem because she already owns a Rottweiler. And I said, oh, gee, I hope that the Doberman didn't tear up your house. And she said, oh, no, they got along. After a little bit of the back and forth, then they got along.
In the history of the college, I think it was, 1870 or something, if I remember correctly, that the college was formed and the Jesuits started educating people in Western New York. There's been a lot of challenging times, World War I, World War II, the student population went down to almost nothing because of, kids going off to war and so on. In the history of the college, do you think this is the most difficult or unusual circumstances that it's ever had to go through?
It's right up there with, I would say, with the challenges we faced in World War I, the Depression, the Great Depression, and particularly in World War II. World War II, we're in the midst of a celebration this year, ironically, of our 150th anniversary, our sesquicentennial. And, one of the things I noted in our history is that we admitted women to the college in the 40s, mostly to keep the doors open. I mean, they weren't inclined to do that at that time, but they did. And it moved us along the trail toward when we could ultimately become fully co-ed. And but yeah, this I think ranks right up there with the most challenging periods in the college's history.
And going forward, there's been some talk that the virtual experience, the online experience, might become the norm and replace that classroom experience. I personally, and we talked about this earlier, that personal touch, being in the classroom with a professor and being able to have that personal interaction, I don't think there's a substitute for that. I don't think you can't really replace that experience. Do you think it's going to be a problem, or do you think it's going to eat away at some of the enrollment for the actual attendance at college?
Well, it's possible. I don't. People tend to present this as an either-or choice, and I don't think it's that. I think we will see a greater incorporation of technology into the live experience, and we will see colleges developing the ability to pivot quickly to an online environment. Even for things as mundane as snow days in Buffalo, there's no reason why we can't quickly cover all the work that was expected to be covered live that day in an online environment and then come back. So we are looking at that. In our graduate programs here at Canisius, Phil, most of those are in the online format, and all of the enrollment has migrated in that direction, because in those cases, you've got busy working adults who need the flexibility of an online program. But as you've said, in the undergraduate program, there's so much more to the experience. It's not just acquiring the knowledge, it's the maturation process, it's the socialization process. There's a whole lot more going on here in the education.
And how does Canisius compare with the other private institutions in the area? I'm sure you must communicate with your counterparts at Duville and Medaille and the various other schools. Are they all pretty much in the same boat in terms of the finances and the attendance and the challenges that you're facing?
Yeah. Well, since you gave me the question, how do we compare? We think we're the best, but but no, we've been talking. We had a meeting this week of our local consortium of both public and private schools, and we are all facing very big challenges. The state schools really don't have an easy road on this either. We're facing a massive budget deficit in the state, and that's going to create problems for them in their budget. We're facing a problem with the students' ability to pay tuition. So we're really all in this together.
And things are changing almost by the minute, and there's press conferences every day, and new things come out. They talk about flattening the curve, and it's almost like the sports scores as to numbers and how many people were infected and so on. You are faced with decisions going forward. You've got the spring semester, the graduations coming up, and then the fall semester that you have to plan for. What kind of deadlines are you facing to make decisions going forward? I mean, there's got to be a time pressure for you.
Well, there is. We're taking it a step at a time. So we've solved the problem of the spring semester. We've got that done, but we need to decide what's going to happen in the fall, and a lot of that is a wait and see right now to see, does the curve get flattened? Are we able to open up? Are we able to bring students back on campus, or is there going to have to be some extended period of online learning? We just don't know. The summer session is mostly online anyway, so that will be the case for this summer. But the fall is something we're working on right now, and it's got to be just a wait and see attitude on that.
Okay, so to sum everything up, what's your biggest headache right now in terms of all this, what's going on?
Well, I think it's the sheer number of decisions with all of the moving parts in each one. I mean, it's the complexity of this is overwhelming. So I'm encouraging our leadership team here at Canisius to say we've got to take this a step at a time and just deal with the things that we can deal with the facts that we have at hand, and do our best. That's all we can do, is to do our best.
Okay. Well, we're just about out of time right now. Finally, if you wanted to answer questions from anybody out there that has questions about current students and what they should be doing in any given situation, or prospective students that might want to know about enrolling in the near future, they should contact the college and ask for you or someone, to get all their questions answered.
Yeah, they could contact me directly at president@canisius.edu.
All right, we'll put this up on the screen, all the contact information. John, it's been a pleasure. There's a lot to talk about. I think this has been very informative. We'll have you back again as things develop and change. On this big picture, we've been having an interesting conversation, and I'm sure that as things unfold, we'll visit this subject again. I'd like to thank John Hurley, president of Canisius College, for being my guest on this big picture. And I'd like to thank you, our viewers, for watching the show. I hope you get as much out of it as we do bringing it to you. And thanks again, as always, for watching WBBZ-TV, your local hometown station.